So let's get to the topic of the show, Pete, which is the most important player on the team, not named Carson Beck, right? For this purpose of this exercise, we'll assume Carson Beck's the most important player, move him off. I would say, to me, when I look at this team, particularly, let's say the offensive side of the ball, last year, number one offense in the country by far. I mean, in many categories, the difference between number one and number two was like the difference between number 2 and 20. That's how far ahead Miami was in several key offensive categories, including scoring. Third down, I mean, you name it. So this is elite offense we're talking about last year. That, you know, if you want to compare this offense to anything, you compare it to, like, and I'm not saying it's as good, but just from a statistical standpoint, like the LSU's, teams like that, as far as how far ahead they are of the pack. I think that offense with the, you know, all-pro talent they had with receiver and quarterback is going to stand alone. But this offense had other things such as the running game, top 5 in yards per carry, the short yardage, etc. So elite offense. You had the best player in the country in Cam Ward. He's the number 1 overall pick, right? And there was no other quarterback that was even in the conversation with him. So you have the number 1 offense by distance, and you have the number 1 quarterback overall player really by distance. There's going to be a step back, most likely. It's just being realistic about the situation. When I look at the offense, I see a lot of strengths. I see if Beck is healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Your offensive line is going to be one of the best in the country with multiple pros and a lot of experience and great coaching. Your running game is going to be very, very good. These guys, you lose Martinez, but these guys combined for over 1,000 yards, 6 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns last year, Fletcher and Lyle. So that's should be good there. And short yardages should be good with Fletcher. Tight end with Lofton, I think, is going to be a huge weapon. Bauman gives you some insurance. The question is, who are going to be the playmakers on this team? I trust Daniels as a possession guy, no question. Tony Johnson's been around. He can catch the ball from Cincinnati. Some of these transfers. Keaton Marion, throwing the ball, gadget kind of guy. He can do some work. Who's going to be that go-to guy? Who's going to be that explosive, proven playmaker that makes it look like the Miami Hurricanes on offense? And to me, that has to be Malachi Tony's got a chance, but to me, the guy has to be JoJo Trader. JoJo Trader has to be the best football player on this team or in this receiving core and the most explosive player on the team because he has that ability. We saw him in high school. He was a top 75 player, played both ways when he was at Miami Central. I thought he might have been a better corner than receiver, quite frankly. Then he goes to Chaminade with Jeremiah Smith, shows off as a receiver, and ends up going to Miami last year. Played behind 4 veterans, was banged up. The body, I don't think, was ready for the college level, like some of his teammates, Jeremiah Smith, guys like that. So he's added weight, added some strength, has an incredible spring, was by far, to me, the best receiver on the team, consistently practice in, practice out. And just from what he showed in spring, and really what he showed in the bowl game too, but let's say spring, he showed to me a higher level of talent than anyone we had last year, whether it was George, Brown, Restrepo, Horton. Restrepo is a better player presently because of all the work he did. But as far as just like looking at their talent and comparing them as at the same age, Trader was on a higher level than the guys we had last year. Finishes this right before the end of spring, hurts his wrist, misses the spring game. Nothing that's going to impact his season, but you don't like to see health issues with him because the key with Trader, physically, getting stronger, getting sturdier, getting more durable. So I think the talent he showed in practice consistently was that of a day 1, day 2 wide receiver who was a sophomore. It's 2025. A sophomore can get the job done. He can be that elite playmaker that's a jersey guy, people in the crowd wearing that 0 jersey, but he needs to stay healthy and do it consistently.
Yeah, Javi Kane just asked about Chance Robinson here, not related necessarily to JoJo Trader, but he said, what does it say about Chance Robinson that he's been here 2 years and hasn't been close to seeing the field? Clear portal candidate in winter. He's got to get healthy. That's the reality with some of these guys, man. Ryan Mack, same thing. You want to get these guys healthy and get them out back on the field. That's really, really all there is to say.
Yeah, getting a lot of comments here that I like what they're saying. We're saying Evan Freed, Elijah Lofton, best football player on our field this season. I've been saying it pretty consistently. There he is in the picture with Mark Fletcher. That's the Canes Connection event. By the way, if you want to get access to events like where Evan's at right now, that was a private event. Fletcher was there, Mao Noah, a ton of studs, Hayden Lowe, Popo, and that was an exclusive Canes Connection event. Peter was there. I was there. We're doing interviews, taking questions, meet and greet, autographs, you name it. CanesConnection.com/CIS. You want to add players like this. You want to retain players like this. You want to be part of the solution instead of just someone who talks about it. CanesConnection.com/CIS. You get access to private Zooms with me, ask any kind of question you want about the team, stuff I can't even talk about on here, and then get access to those kind of events, other perks as well. CanesConnection.com/CIS. But yeah, appreciate
Shout
you,
out to Scott. Yeah. Thank you,
appreciate
Scott.
you guys. So Lofton was one. Fletcher had another comment here from Ryder Boy. He had first full off season. So these are important guys. Talking about Inez, right, being a vocal leader on the team. Markel Bell, some of the shoes he has to fill. So Pete, I've talked a lot. Who to you is the most important non-Beck, non-JoJo Trader player on this team?
I think this is for a couple reasons, D. And I honestly, I don't even think it's close. I think it's Ruben Bane, just because of, look, the offense doesn't need to be what it was last year to the scale. I think this can still comfortably be a top 15 to 20 offense in the country. And I know that I'm not the only one who thinks this. Like, people in the comments, I see this sentiment a lot, but you really need to be better defensively, and it's spearheaded by Ruben Bane. You talked about yesterday how dominant Bain was at times during his freshman year. Obviously, the injury was a big part of what you did. Knowing how the roster is constructed, he's one of the guys that they're building around, and they've put resources into, a lot of resources. So when you put a lot of resources into a player, you need them to and listen, people can say the same thing about Beck. Obviously, he's the quarterback, but the quarterback's gonna get paid every year now. When you put resources into a player, they need to go out there and perform somewhat close to that value, right? So I think he's someone who, from that standpoint, again, you're talking about roster building here, and I'm just being real about how this whole thing plays out, right? There's only so much to go around. You put more into some positions, you put less into others. The way this roster is constructed, he's a very important piece of how they've built this thing, and he needs to perform at that level. I'm not saying that this team can't still be good if he doesn't have a double-digit sack season, but he needs to be that guy who's commanding double teams and letting guys around him be free to get after the quarterback as well, because he was a complete nightmare for offenses as a freshman. So we think that he's going to get back to that based on how his body looked and everything we've heard in spring. But that unit as a whole needs to, and so let me just say that, like, that this is not just the thing on him. He's the leader of that unit, and that unit needs to be more productive than they've been.
Yeah, that's a great one.
There was a lot. Listen, we talk about the defensive backs a lot, but it makes the defensive back's job a whole lot easier when you're getting consistent pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the fact that, listen, this is the NFL, right? College football is the NFL. There's not a formal salary cap, but there's not infinite money, and these players get paid. It's the NFL when everybody's on a one-year contract, or most people on a one-year contract, right? So in that scenario, Bain is like the Myles Garrett of college football, right? Because if you look at the mock drafts, which I get, again, are probably like they'll get like a little over 1/3 of the players in the first round right this far out. So say maybe, some guys get closer to 1/2, between 1/3 and 1/2. Bain's in every single mock draft. These are not Canes fans. These are national people. His value nationally was enormous, market-wise. He's here at Miami, like he should be, to finish his career. It was to get a guy like Bain to stay, even if he wants to be a Cane, it's an enormous investment. So he needs to perform like what he is in the mock drafts and what we expect him to do. One thing I didn't realize, and I'm not huge on PFF grades. I think for some positions, they're better than others. Defensive end, I think they're pretty good because that's an isolated position at times. You look at Bain's PFF stats last year, they were still pretty dang good. And
Yeah.
over the first 2 years, they're great. I mean, not just against the pass, but against the run. And I think last year you saw the injuries. He was maybe a little heavier than he could have been, not because of his conditioning, just I think because of the injury. But this is a guy who you don't want him stunting and moving around like Miami's off defensive line did. If I have Ruben Bane, I want to line up in front of the guy in front of me and beat him. And I think Bain can do that better than anybody because his power is so unique.
And he takes that will away from the opposing lineman. Like by the third, fourth quarter there, he can win with just sheer power. And then obviously, again, it helps when he's now leaned up a bit and should be more explosive.
Yeah, I think so, and healthier. Just watching him, I went back and watched the Rutgers game, the Pinstripe Bowl, for reasons that may become clear if certain things happen in the portal. Watching that game, not watching Bain, I was watching for other players. He was dominant. You couldn't miss him because he was getting double teamed. He was completely blowing up everything Rutgers was doing, run and pass, and it was the power. He just can. I mean, we talk about running play. He can knock back the tackle into the backfield, get free, and then make the play. In terms of brush, the speed to power, set up the his ability to get outside and bend. He has so many moves to him. This guy really is a unique talent, and I think in this system, which is much more straightforward from in terms of alignment and what you got to do, just kind of, hey, beat the guy in front of you, be physical. On paper, I think it's going to help him a lot and position him to potentially be a first-round pick, even without the prototypical size, length that you would associate with the end. Is he a D end? Is he a D tackle? Him and Malinois are going to have debates about where they fit best, outside or inside, the whole season. But one thing I know about both those guys is their power is so unique. Their ability to knock guys back that they're going to find their home somewhere. They're going to be extremely productive players for the U, and I agree, they're very important.
Yusuf asking, do you see Bain going in the first round of the draft? Obviously, there's a lot of mock drafts that you see his name. I think and then Drago says barring injuries next year, first round top 10. He would need a crazy season to be a top 10 pick. It's more with him is that he's got to be defensive. He's got to be the most productive defensive player in the ACC because he does not have the measurables that they're looking for as a first rounder. I'm not saying anything crazy by saying that. He doesn't have the prototypical length, to play DN or size to play D tackle. But if he can win the way that he won freshman year and do it at a similar clip, then I definitely think he has a chance to be a first rounder. But that production has to be, because they're not drafting a guy with those measurables without elite production.
Yeah, Pete, I agree with you. And I think what I emphasize with Bain is just the run and the pass. So he's a pass rusher, which is what pays the bills. But then it's not like somebody you lose on the running game. If you run right at Bain, he's going to knock you back and make the play, both because of his technique, his motor, and just his pure power and ability to get low and drive guys back. So